And looking into all like American traditions, sometimes they'll have a flyover. Just get my A10 here. You could do like a flyover at a stadium before a match. It'd be interesting to know. But yeah, for me, flyover is like a road. It goes over another road. Greetings, you amazing people all over the world. My name is Mr. H, and you are my friends. My family and I are on a journey to learn all things USA. If you're new to the channel and that sounds good, don't forget to subscribe. Join our incredible, amazing, superb community. And today's reaction video is a Lost in the Pond by the YouTube sensation that is Lawrence Brown, which is entitled 8 Words Americans Surprisingly Don't Use, Part 1. Now, I actually cannot think. If you've got any ideas, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget, you can follow us on other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter. That's enough of my peddling. I'm going to cook my jibber jabber. Let's get on with the video.
Thousands of people stood in line to say goodbye to our longest reigning monarch. And this very quickly became the most British thing ever, because something we like even more than rain is queuing up for stuff. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to words. Specifically, words that I used all the time in Britain and fully expected to use again in America. Only America, being full of surprises, taught me that not every word we use is universal within the English-speaking world. One word that is universal is subscribe, so do that now if you haven't. On this channel, I've looked extensively at American English words that aren't very common in Britain. And now, just as Queen Elizabeth II would surely have wanted, Lost in the Pond is going to do the very same, but in reverse. Here are 8 surprising English words that Americans don't really use.
Okay. Argy bargy. Okay, you've not heard of argy bargy? A bit like argy bargy, you know, a bit sort of... I don't know what that means, but yeah, a bit of sort of like pushing around and a bit of, not fighting or anything like that, but sort of just being a bit boisterous.
With some of these words, you can almost hear them in an American accent, and with others, you really can't. And I'd say the latter is true for the word argy-bargy. And right now, there are probably a lot of Americans thinking, that's not a real word, you are a liar, Lawrence Brown. And I think I'd think that too if I hadn't grown up in Britain, but argy-bargy is a real word, and it means to get into a real audible argument with somebody. And while it sounds like a humorous word that belongs in Monty Python or something, argy-bargy can be a pretty serious matter. See also handbags. You confused, I can tell. That's okay, but after this video, I just want to hear Americans using argy-bargy in a sentence, because just how weird would that be? Argy-bargy. Because you really sound out your R's, and it just takes it to a new level of completion.
Argy-bargy. And that's British R's, Rodic. Yes. Oh, Brolly. Brolly? Umbrella? Brolly?
I think it's well known that Britain is well known for its well-known rainfall, and almost every human on the island has to have some way of protecting themselves from that rain. And I'm not just talking about bus shelters, although that is my preferred method. No, I'm talking about umbrellas, like the invisible one that I apparently have here. Umbrellas is, of course, the standard name that I think we both use in Britain and America, but in Britain, we also like to use the word brolly. Yeah. It just sounds nice. It almost gives a sense of quaintness to the rain. In America, for the most part, I think you have a different relationship with rain. And that could be because in many parts of the country, when you get rain, it absolutely belts it down for 5 minutes and then stops. So you don't even need an umbrella in that situation. I don't know where I'm going with this, because Americans definitely use umbrellas. They just never called them brollies. What they did call them at one point in time was a bumbershoot. Whoa. Some Americans that I've spoken to think that bumbershoot was a British word, but it turns out that it was actually coined in the United States. Wow. And most British people have never heard of it.
Cheeky. Yeah, cheeky. Like if someone's sort of ribbing someone, being a bit cheeky, sort of taking the mickey, but in a nice way, not being horrible or derogatory, but just having a bit of banter. Maybe banter's another one you don't have. Although I think you probably do have banter.
Cheeky. This used to be a big part of my vocabulary. Because in Britain, if you call somebody cheeky, that just means that they are a little bit mischievous. They're sort of adorable in a I can't believe you did that kind of way. And so it's often coupled with an equally mild insult like sod or so-and-so. You cheeky little so-and-so. Sorry, Mum, that was the best impression I could do. She doesn't have a beard. And as I sit here now just sort of reacting to these words, I can't really think what the American equivalent would be. Oh, you cheeky little so-and-so. That sounds weird, so there's got to be an alternative. Whoa. I can't think of any, so just let me know in the comments below.
Yeah, let me know in the comments below as well.
While we're on the subject, just a cheeky shout out to my patrons who make these videos possible. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so today at patreon.com/lostinthepond.
You don't use cling film? Well, I never.
Something I've learned in my 14 years of living in America is that some things just take on a different name due to branding. And one of those things is something that I've always referred to as cling film. As you can see on here, that is not how Americans do it. Plastic wrap is the generic term here. But when I first moved here, my wife was referring to it by the mysterious name of saran wrap, which I believe is a brand name. But I can tell you this, that saran wrap, plastic wrap, or cling film does work on either side of the pond and is very effective for shutting up YouTube sensations. Don't try this at home, folks. There's a bit of a breathable hole. I'm just going to see, should I do the rest of the video like this? Probably there's a bit of a glare. I don't know why I did anything.
Obviously, don't put cling film on your face.
It was just so that I could show you that cling film is exactly the same on either side of the pond, no matter what we call it. Next up, and I can't even read it because that's in the way. Next up, flyover.
Oh, you don't use the word flyover? Ah, okay. So for me, I would say a flyover is like a road. And looking into all like American traditions, sometimes they'll have a flyover. Just get my A10 here. You could do like a flyover at a stadium before a match. It'd be interesting to know. But yeah, for me, flyover is like a road. It goes over another road.
Where I grew up, in the English town of Grimsby, there is a part of road that you're driving along and suddenly it goes up over the stuff underneath it. And my whole life, this was referred to as the flyover. And it was magical when I was a kid, because when we drive over it as a family, I imagined we were in the film Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which makes no sense. Cars don't actually leave the ground. But when you're a kid, you hear the word flyover and the car is going up, you can very easily convince yourself that you are in fact Dick Van Dyke. I quickly learned that in America, where these things are very commonplace, the word flyover isn't used. Instead, they refer to it as an overpass. And that's probably sensible, because Americans do use the word flyover when referring to flyover states, as in states in the middle of the country that you bypass when flying from, say, New York to San Francisco.
That makes more sense. Peckish? No, I had a peckish. Like peckish means you're like hungry. Oh, I'm a bit peckish. I'll have some potato chips. We'd say crisps, obviously.
Just like America, Britain has its own words when it comes to food. Think of chips instead of fries. But it also has words specifically pertaining to the eating of food and the feeling of being hungry. And one of those words is peckish. Just about every 11 a.m. that I spent in Britain would see that word emanate from my lips. And I can already hear my wife's cousin Chad going, "What does it mean, Lawrence?" in an American accent. And peckish just means hungry. So for example, I'm feeling a bit peckish, I might have a nibble. And for some reason I imagined Hannibal Lecter while I said that. So to clarify, we do use it about food and not people. And before we get onto this, I have heard it said that the word peckish did used to have a bit of traction in the United States, but it's become archaic.
I wonder if I was about to say jacket potato. I was just about to say jacket potato. Do you say hot potato? We call them jacket potato, so baked potato, but the reason we say jacket is because you leave the skin on. Would you say baked potato?
Anyway, potatoes. This, as it is a potato that is straight out of the bag. Nothing has yet been done to it. But there are many things we could do to this. We could fry it, we could roast it, we could boil it, or we could make it into what Americans refer to as a baked potato. And it makes sense. You are, in fact, baking it in the microwave usually, because I'm lazy. But it did take me a few goes at describing that very type of potato to Americans before I realised that we don't call it the same thing.
Occasionally we call it baked potato. If someone says to me baked potato, I'd know they mean jacket potato. So, yeah.
To us, at least in England, that would be called a jacket potato. And why jacket? Because we're constantly thinking about the weather. But also because when you cut it in half, the sliced skin looks like a jacket round the potato, which I suppose is just another way of making our food feel like people. Don't tell Hannibal Lecter that.
Q. Oh yeah, would you say line? We love queuing. Well, actually, no, we don't. We really don't like queuing, but we always queue.
And now for the final word, a word that I've seen all week on news outlets in both Britain and America, and the very word that prompted this entire video, and that word is queue. Thousands of people stood in line to say goodbye to our longest reigning monarch. And this very quickly became the most British thing ever, because something we like even more than rain is queuing up for stuff. Ideally in the rain, so long as you've got a brolly and a jacket potato. And the queue became such a prominent part of the week's headlines that its very definition seems to have evolved before our eyes. I can almost imagine a world in which 10 years from now, people will use the queue to refer specifically to that time that they queued up for 407 years to say goodbye to Liz 2. Anyway, that's a long-winded way of arriving at the fact that Americans on the whole don't use the word queue. They didn't even reform the spelling of it to remove all of the vowels, which would have been fair enough. Instead, they just simply call it a line, which when you're thinking about it, under certain circumstances, we do that in Britain too, especially when referring to the monarchy and the next in line to the throne.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to drop a like. It really, really helps us out. And if you are new to the channel and you like reaction videos, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified every time we upload a new video. We bloody love you. And all that leaves me to say is take care, God bless, and see y'all in the next video.